Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Buckeye Weekly Podcast. I am Tony Gerdeman, here as always with Tom. How's it going?
Tony, I was just thinking, you know what I hope we get to do? Another surprise podcast, because let's let people in behind the curtain. We were recording a different show, and then it was like, oh, good, breaking news. Ohio State has a new running back in the transfer portal, and now that we're done with that last show, now we get to do this show. So, Tony, I hope no one else commits during the next 8 to 14 to 17 minutes while we're talking about former West Virginia running back C.J. Donaldson now being a Buckeye.
Indeed. Now Buckeye has announced his commitment via social media. A guy who has 1 year remaining, has played a bunch, produced a bunch in his 3 years, over 2,000 yards rushing. First year at West Virginia in 2022, 526 yards on 87 attempts, 6 yards a carry. In 2023, rushed for 798 yards on 171 carries, 4.7, or on 171 attempts, 4.7 yards per carry. This year, 4.5 yards per carry, 734 yards, again, getting the bulk of the carries, or a good number of carries, 163 attempts. Would like to see that number, that average, rise here for the Buckeyes. I'm sure they would like to see that. 6'2", 240 pounds. Not since the days of Beanie Wells, Rod Smith, as Ohio State had a back this big. And it'll be interesting to see the way they use him. But Tom, why in your opinion does Ohio State go out and get a running back? It's something we talked about, we suspected would happen. Why C.J. Donaldson, and how do you think that impacts the room right now?
Well, I think, number one, the size that you mentioned, he gives them a little bit of potentially a different dimension. A 240-pound running back is a very different back than a 200-pound running back or a 220-pound running back. That they bring different things to your offense. But the other piece of this that's kind of interesting to me, and maybe is the big tip-off here, is 1 year of eligibility remaining. Because you got to remember, the Buckeyes have Quinshon Judkins has another year of eligibility remaining. You think there's a decent possibility they will try and get him back for another year. We'll see what his plans are with the NFL and coming back and all that kind of stuff. He has a decision to make. Travion Henderson, is gone. Everyone behind them on the depth chart is currently a true freshman or an incoming freshman next year. It is a young room, especially if Quinshon Judkins ends up deciding that he wants to turn pro. Donaldson, that gives you a little bit of a veteran presence in that room. For, 3-year guy who's been a contributor, has started a lot of the last 2 years for the Mountaineers, and he's not putting up Barry Sanders or Ashton Jeanty numbers, but he's been a really consistent back for the Mountaineers. Just looking through last 5 games, 83 yards, 96 yards, 60 yards. I mean, he's putting together, he's had 3 games where he scored touchdowns in the last 5, 2-touchdown game against Memphis, 2-touchdown game against Central Florida, and scored a touchdown against Baylor as well. Just a sort of reliable back, 4.7 yards per carry last year, 4.5 yards per carry this year. Again, this is not Ashton Jeanty. They don't need Ashton Jeanty. They have plenty of other guys in that room. They like James Peoples quite a bit. James Peoples figures to take on a bigger role next year. This is not a thing that's probably likely to chase other folks in the portal. Like, well, boy, you bring in a 5-star quarterback, you're chasing other quarterbacks into the portal. Running back's a little different. This is not someone who's immediately coming in and clearly been guaranteed the starting job or anything like that. But it's also a place where Ohio State has seen the benefit of spreading the carries around between a couple running backs this year. Travion Henderson, Quinshon Judkins are playing better now, look better now, are fresher now than they were at the beginning of the season. I would certainly expect that they have learned the lesson from this year and thought, we might want to do that again next year.
Yeah, for sure. You've seen the benefits of it. You've seen the idea of this is a long season, and if you want to get to the ultimate goal, then you're going to need everybody to help, and everybody gets their own piece of the pie and helps to get them there. With C.J. Donaldson, he was a guy that kind of burst onto the scene in 2022. As I said, he rushed for 526 yards. What I didn't say was that was in 7 games, and there were, I believe, injuries there. He rushed for his first game in his career at West Virginia against Pitt in a loss, 7 carries, 125 yards, 1 touchdown. His second game against Kansas, scored twice. And then he had a third game was against Towson. He scored 3 touchdowns. So he had 6 touchdowns in his first 3 games, averaged 6, as I said, 6 yards a carry as a true freshman. But the numbers the averages have gone down each season, you can chalk that up to whatever. He's also kind of their short yardage guy, which is going to lower your yards. That's why he's scored 11 or 12 touchdowns in the last 2 seasons each year. So he's one of those guys. And being as big as he is, you would expect, okay, yes, that makes sense that they would use him in that short yardage. And we see Quinshon Judkins used in those short yardage situations, and maybe they expect him to be gone and now this could be his role. And if he can do more than that, fantastic. But I do think we kind of assumed the possibility of a veteran presence, a veteran addition into the running back room, because if you don't do it, then you're talking about 2 second-year guys and 3 first-year guys, and no coach is going to feel good about that. And I am sure, having talked with Ryan Day and having Ryan Day talked about this all along, even today on the Rose Bowl media teleconference about adding players through the portal and how you have to be honest and upfront with your current players about what you're doing. And we know they did that with Travion Henderson. Like, hey, Quinshon Judkins wants to come here. What do you think about that? He's like, I'm all for it, coach. So when you're going to bring somebody in, you're going to be talking to your players like, hey, this is what's happened. What do you think about this? And I'm not saying James Peoples or Sam Williams-Dixon or any of the running backs they've got. Bo Jackson has the ability to say, no way, coach, you can't do that. But you give them some some knowledge ahead of time. You say, hey, how do you feel? I'm asking you how you feel. And then it's up to the player to realize that you should say, I'll take any competition that you got coming in. I don't care. And the thing is here, if a player, James Peoples or Sam Williams-Dixon, looks and's like, yeah, he's a 2,000-yard rusher, but we're not the same person. And I can see that he's averaging 4.5 yards a carry. And it's like, that's no big shake because I'm going to do my research. But also they're going to explain the roles that they have for everybody in bringing somebody in. So I think this is an interesting piece. It's a veteran piece, something that will also help a young quarterback next year. And, it's not the one I frankly have not had time to even think about a transfer portal addition in the backfield, given what's going on around here. But a veteran guy who's seen it and done it and played in big games and has been fairly reliable, so kind of fits the mode of what they're looking for, and most especially not somebody that is necessarily going to scare away what you believe to be the future of your running back room.
Well, and you look at the rest of the running back room, and they're all so young that you're going into your second year with James Peoples and Sam Williams-Dixon, and you got Bo Jackson, Turbo Rogers, and Isaiah West coming in as the true freshmen this year. All of those guys, none is listed as taller than 6 foot or more than 210 pounds. So as you said, these are different roles. Turbo Rogers, 5'8", 195, and CJ Donaldson, 6'2", 238. Those are they're both running backs. Those are 2 very different running backs, 2 very different roles. And with the way things are right now in college football, you just need to stockpile as much talent as you possibly can because, everyone's happy right now. There's no indication that anyone else is headed into the transfer portal. Who knows what 2 weeks from now will bring, 2 months from now will bring. There are no guarantees in college football right now. So that is when you should buy insurance. And this seems like a great opportunity for Ohio State to give themselves some more depth, probably help themselves quite a bit for 2025 in terms of just being able to spread those carries. But also, it's a little bit of insurance because at this point, you just never know.
For sure. And honestly, you can't necessarily be surprised in any kind of addition, almost. Like if they brought in another guy, I'd be like, well, it makes sense. You want 2 veteran running backs with all of these young guys. Sure, I guess. But as Ryan Day said today, it's got to be the right guys and it's got to be the right fit and people coming in for the right purpose and the people who are already here understanding that and everybody meshing. So there you go. Newest Ohio State running back. Ohio State has even tweeted out the official welcome. So it's good. There you go. CJ Donaldson, your newest Ohio State Buckeye, at least as of this recording right now. And so we better get off and put this back up, put this up so that nothing happens between now and then. So if you're watching, go ahead and please hit the thumbs up. We would appreciate that. Hitting the bell to be notified It worked this time. It'll work next time for you. And of course, find us at BuckeyeHuddle.com. Sign up $4.99 for your first month, talking about this and everything else that is going on around the program as well. So thank you all for tuning in, and we'll talk to you guys later.